Let's look at how data is stored in RDBMS. A relational database management system RDBMS organizes and stores data in the form of tables. An RDBMS manages data according to the relational model. In the relational model, the fundamental structure to organize data is the relation, which is where it gets its name. The data in RDBMS is stored in database objects called tables. For example, student table contains related data of student address, marks, and fee payment details. A database is a collection of data. Entities are person, place, things or event about which data is being stored in the database. Relationship is the link between entities. There are many types of relationships based on how many entities are involved at either end of the relationship. One-to-one, for example, one person can have only one passport. Hence, one-to-one relation exists between person and passport. One-to-many, for example, one project manager can manage many projects. Hence, one-to-many relation exists between project manager and project. Many-to-one, for example, many subjects can be taught by one professor. Hence, many-to-one relation exists between subjects and professor. Many-to-many, for example, an actor can act in many movies and a movie can have many actors. Hence, many-to-many relation exists between actors and movies. In an RDBMS database, data is stored in the tables in the form of rows and columns. For example, in the diagram, database 1, database 2, IT student, database 3 and database 4 are all databases. Student is a table in IT student database. It has 3 rows and 3 columns. It is important to note that each table in a database has a unique table name. The row or record in the table is called a tuple. The column or field is called an attribute. Every column in a table must have a unique name. The number of tuples is called the cardinality of the table. The number of attributes is called the degree of the table. A column or a combination of columns that uniquely identifies each row in the table is called the primary key of the table. The SQL language, in conjunction with the features of MySQL, provides an easy and efficient way for users to manage their databases. The data definition language (DDL) statements are used for creation, modification, and deletion of databases and tables. For example, for creation of database, create database is used, and for deletion of database, drop database is used. Creation of table, create table command is used, and for deletion of table, drop table is used. For modification of database and tables, alter database and alter table commands are used. Data manipulation language are used to manage data in the table. For example, to retrieve data from table, select from command is used. To add data to the table, insert into command is used. To modify data in the table, update command is used. To remove data, delete command is used. In this session, we will see how to install MySQL database used in the LAMP stack. To install MySQL database, you need to enter the command sudo dnf install mysql mysql-server. So this will install both the server as well as client. Press enter. Now it is resolving the dependencies. Now notice that though I have given the command install MySQL, the package names that are coming over here is MariaDB. To understand this, you will have to know a little background. MySQL was initially owned by a Swedish company, MySQL AB. In 2008, Sun Microsystems acquired MySQL, and in 2010, Oracle acquired Sun Microsystems. Hence, MySQL is now owned by Oracle. Several paid editions of MySQL are available that offer additional functionality. There is also a community edition of MySQL that is available, which is free. When Oracle bought MySQL, its original developers started another branch for this database called MariaDB. MariaDB is a community-developed relational database management system which you can use in place of MySQL. Press Y at the prompt. The downloading of the packages will start. Depending upon the speed of your network, the packages will get downloaded and installed and a complete message will be displayed on the screen. Let me just clear the screen. Now to check the version of MySQL which is installed, you can give the command MySQL -version. You can see that the version of MySQL which is installed is MariaDB version 10. Now you can start MariaDB by executing the command sudo system control start MariaDB.service. Now the service is started. To connect to the MySQL database, give the command MySQL, and you can see welcome to MariaDB monitor, and MariaDB command prompt is coming. So we can now quit from here by typing quit and enter. To stop the MariaDB, you can give the following command sudo system control stop MariaDB.service. Now the MySQL database which was running in the background is not running anymore. It has stopped. Now if I give the command MySQL, it is giving an error as currently MySQL is not running in the background. Let's restart the MySQL database by giving the command sudo system control start MariaDB.service. Now this database is running in the background only for the current session. We can enable it so that whenever we next time boot the Linux operating system, that the MySQL database should also start. We can do this by giving the command sudo system control enable MariaDB.service. Now when the next time the system starts, the MySQL service will also start. To check whether the service is enabled, we can give the command sudo system control is enabled MariaDB.service. The enabled message shows that the service is enabled. Now once MySQL database has been installed, you need to secure it. To secure MySQL, you need to give the command sudo MySQL_secure_installation. Press enter. It will ask you to enter the current password for the root user. As this is the first time you have run MySQL, after installation there will not be any root password. So just press enter. It is asking to set the root password so that MySQL database is secured. So to set the root password, press Y and enter. At the new password prompt, enter the password and enter. Next, re-enter the password and press enter. So now a success message is displayed. It shows that the root password has been set. Next, MariaDB installation has an anonymous user which allows anyone to log into the MariaDB without having a user account created for them. And this is only for testing purposes. So we should remove them before moving to the production environment. So remove anonymous user, press Y and enter. A success message is displayed. Normally root is only allowed to connect from localhost. This ensures that someone cannot guess the root password from the network. Disallow root login remotely, press Y and enter. Next, it says by default, MariaDB comes with a database name test that anyone can access. This is also for testing purposes and should be removed for production environment. So press Y at the prompt for remove test database and access to it. Next is asking for reloading the privilege table will ensure that all changes made so far will take effect immediately. Press Y at the reload privilege table now prompt. the message all done and thanks for using MariaDB. It shows that all the steps which were there required for initially securing MariaDB have been performed correctly, and now your MariaDB is secure. Now let us configure the MySQL server by creating a new database and create a new user account. Now first of all, I will log in to MySQL using the command mysql-u root-p, enter. It's asking for password, so I type in the password and I'm at the MariaDB prompt. Now to view the current databases present in the system, we can give the command show databases. It's showing the list of current databases present in the MySQL server. You can create a new database by giving the command create database mydb. Now again, if I give the command show databases, I will see the mydb has been created. Now I will just clear the screen by pressing exclamation semicolon and clear. And now let's start by making a new user in MySQL by using the command create user, new user @localhost identified by mypass. This identified by mypass is the password we are assigning to the new user. Now the new user is created. However, the new user has no permissions to do anything on the database. Therefore, first thing which we need to do is give him permissions to use the databases on the server. To do that, you need to give the grant command using like this, grant all privileges on. Now I'm giving star dot star over here, which first star represents the databases and second star represents the tables in that databases, to the new user. With this permissions, the user can access the database for read, edit, execute, and perform all tasks for all databases and all the tables. I press enter. Now once we have finalized the permission for the user, we need to have these privileges activated because currently they are only gone into the grants table. They are not active. To make them active, give the command flush privileges and enter. Now the changes are in effect. Now we can check what are the permissions given to the new user by using the show grants option for new user at localhost. Here it's showing the permissions to the new user we just created. In fact, if we wanted to see all the users present on MySQL database, we can give the command select user, host from mysql.user. So here it is showing the root and the new user and the host on which they have the permissions in MariaDB. Now I'll just clear the screen. Okay, now I'll just quit from MariaDB And now I will log in as the new user I have just now created. To do that, I will type in the command MySQL-u new user-p, enter, and I will enter the password. Now I will log in as the new user that I have just now created. To do that, I give the command MySQL-u new user-p, enter, and type in the password. And now I am logged into MariaDB as the new user. I can type in use MyDB, and now my current database is changed, and now I am logged in as the new user. This database currently do not have any table. Now let's create a table in this database. To create a table, let's execute the command create table, table name, let's say call it student marks, and we will add in student ID, varchar 20, name varchar 50, and marks int. We have defined the 3 columns in this table, and let's execute. Now let's add some values or rows into this student marks table. To do that, give the command insert into student marks values S1 Steve, let's say 90, and execute. So now the first record has got added to this table. We can see it by typing select star from student marks. So it's showing this first table with one record with S1, Steve, and 90. Similarly, let me first clear the screen. Now let me insert 2 more records similarly. Insert into student marks values S2 John 80. Insert into student marks values S3 Mary 95. Now let's see the table by entering the command select star from student marks, and it's now showing this table with 3 records S1, S2, and S3 in this table called student marks. So now let's just quit from this MySQL database. Now let's install PHP on this LAMP server. To do that, you need to give the following command: sudo dnf install PHP phpMySQL. Now the PHP packages will interpret PHP files, and the PHP MySQL packages will help in connecting MySQL with PHP. Now you can see the dependent files have also been identified and are ready to download. Press Y and enter. The download of package has started. Depending upon the speed of your network, these packages will get downloaded, and once they are downloaded, they will get installed on your system. There, it's getting downloaded. There, now the packages are downloaded and installed. and we get a complete message. Now let's run a sample PHP file with a very simple phpMyInfo function and see whether PHP is working fine or not. Now I will just change to the folder var www.html. Let me clear the screen. Now in this folder I will create a small file called getinfo.php using the vim command. So I'm giving sudo vim getinfo.php and I will type in the script php, the php info command, and I'll close the script. Now let me save and quit from here. ls-l to see whether the file has got created. Yeah, the file getinfo.php is now created. Now if I want, I can check by typing php getinfo.php at the command line, and I can see that this file is working fine on the command line. Now let me just open my browser and see whether it's working fine there or not. So I will just switch from here to my browser. Now right now this is the IP address of my Linux server. So I will just type in getinfo.php. Now you'll see over here, now it's just showing PHP script over here. Instead, it should have executed that PHP info and shown the result. Now what is wrong? Actually, we have installed PHP after we had already started the Apache web server. So Apache web server has not recognized that PHP has got installed. So what we'll do is we'll go back to our command prompt. I'll clear the screen and we will restart the Apache web server using the command sudo system control restart httpd.service. Once the server has restarted, now let me just go back to my browser and let me refresh this page. And now we see PHP version 5.6.14 is now installed and its parameters are getting displayed in the browser. You can scroll down and see different configurations. Now once I have refreshed my web browser, I can see that PHP version 5.6.14 has got installed and various parameters related to PHP are now getting displayed. You can scroll down and see different parameters which are present in PHP listed in this page. For example, FTP support is right now enabled. MySQL is enabled. MySQL is enabled. PDO has got MySQL and SQLite drivers installed. So you can see the different parameters and different values of PHP being displayed. In this session, we will see how to use decision-making statements in PHP. Let's first look at where I'll create these files. Currently, I am in the folder var www.html. Now in this, I have created a form. Now let's look at that form first. It's called myform.html. Now this is a simple form. In this form, you can see the form action as myscript1.php. That means this PHP file will be called when we click on the submit button, and the method of sending the parameters is post. The first number and the second number are going to be input in a text box, and it's a very simple form. So now let's quit from here and let's look at myscript1. The myscript1 is accepting the parameters the post parameters and displaying them. You can see echo $_post F number, the first number, and echo $post S number, the second number. Both of these numbers are going to be displayed. Now let's just run this form and see how it works. So now let me open my browser. In this browser, I will just open my form. Open my form called myform.html. I enter the first number as 6 and second number as 8 and click on the submit button. And now my script 1 is executed, which shows the first number I entered was 6 and second number I entered was 8. Now I'll go back to my scripts. Now let me modify this program further to display which of the value I've entered is the larger. Let me open my second script called MySQL. Now in this script, what I have done is I've added on line number 5 to line number 15. The variables A and B are going to store the values of F number and S number, the first number and the second number. Now, and after that, it is going to compare if the first value is greater than second value. If it is, it will display $A is greater than $B. Else it will check whether the second value is greater than the first value. And then it will display the second value is greater than the first value. Else it will display both the values are equal. Now let me just quit from here. I'll have to modify my form so that instead of MySQL1, MySQL2 is called. So I'll open this form, and in this form I will just replace this 1 with 2 so that now when the action happens, when I click on the submit button, instead of MySQL1, MySQL2, which is having the if condition, gets executed. So I will quit from here. I'll go back to my browser and see what happens when I execute this form. So let me open that form again. So I open my form. Now if I enter, let's say, the first number as 5 and second number as 9 and click on submit. So it says first number is 5, second number is 9, and 9 is greater than 5. Similarly, if I were to enter, let's say, 9 and 4, so it says 9 is greater than 4. And if I were to enter, let's say, 7 and 7, both are equal, and click on submit, so it says both are equal. So that's how the if statement works. Now continuing, let's look at another example of using a switch statement for decision making. So I go back to my forms. In this case, I will create a form which will ask me to enter the drink I would like to order. Let me show you the form that I have created for this. So this is a sample form for the switch example. When I click on submit, it will go to drink.php. What it is doing is nothing but showing me an option, what I would like to drink. The form action will go to drink.php when I click on the submit button. The form displays enter the name of the drink you like and expects the value to be either tea, coffee or juice. Now, once I enter the value, that value will get stored in the variable which is be referred as dname, and that is how I will be able to access it in my PHP script. So I will just quit from here and I will see my form. My script name was drink.php, and in this is the code which I have written in this file, where variable a will get the value of the dname, that variable which was passed in the form, and when I switch that value using the switch statement, and there are 3 cases, whether it is tea, the message you have ordered tea will be displayed. In case coffee is entered, you have ordered coffee will be displayed, and in case juice is entered, you have ordered juice will be displayed, or else invalid choice will be displayed. Now let's run this small script and see how this works. So let me just open my browser and open the switch form.html. So now it's asking me to enter the name of drink I like, whether it is tea, coffee or juice. So if I enter tea and click on submit, so it says you have ordered tea. So far so good. So now let's see if I enter coffee and say submit. So it says you have ordered coffee. Now let me go back and say juice and say submit. It says you have ordered juice. And if I entered something other than these values, let's say water, and say submit, then it says invalid choice. So the script is working as expected. Now let's look at how to use while and for loops in PHP. To do that, let's look at our scripts again. I'll open the script myform.html. Now do you remember this was the same script which we had used earlier. Now in this script what we are doing is we are accepting the first number and second number and passing it to a PHP script. In this case it's called myscript1.php. Now I have created another script called myWhile.php just to show you how the while loop works. Now in this again I'm accepting the first number and second number, assigning it to variable A and variable B. Once it is done, these values are displayed. In a while loop, till the value of A is less than the value of B, it displays the value of A and then increments the value of A by 1. Again it goes back and compares it with the value of B. If it is still less, it goes inside the while loop and displays the value of A. If it is equal to or more than B, then it comes out of the while loop. Now let's run this. To run this, I will have to modify my form so that instead of calling myscript1, my script myWhile.php is invoked this time. So I will just save this form and open my browser and load the my form. So let's say if I enter 2 to 8 and click on submit, so it displays the value 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is till the value of 2 is less than the value of B, which is 8. It displays the values till the value of A is less than value of B. Now let's modify this program so that it displays till the value of A is less than or equal to B. So to do that, we go back to my while loop. In this while loop, update this condition to $A is less than equal to the second variable and quit, save and quit. We come back to it and let's reload our form. Now if I enter again 2 and 8 this time and click on submit, it displays 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. That is till the value of A is less than or equal to the value of B. Now let's continue with the same example and see how the same thing can be done using a for loop, for which I have written another script which I will show you. So I have a script called myfor.php. In this I have modified the code over here from line number 11 to 15, and instead of while loop I have put a for loop in which you can see a value of variable A getting assigned to $A, which is the first number. Then the value of the variable X is checked whether it is less than or equal to the value of B. If it is there, then the value of X is displayed on the screen. and then the value of x is incremented by 1. And this loop continues to run like this. So I will just save this. Again, I will go back to my form and change the action over here. So instead of the while, I am going to now use myfor.php. That means when I click on submit, myfor.php is called. I have saved it and I will go back to my browser. In this browser now, if I open my form and again I'll enter 4 and now click on submit. So it displays 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 using the for loop. So looking at the script again, this was my script for the for loop. In this loop, it has run. It has taken the two values and till the value of first variable is less than equal to second variable, it is displaying it on the screen. How to connect PHP with MySQL database. On the internet, when you navigate to a website, you form a connection. You can connect to website from different devices such as laptop, mobile, tablets or desktop. All these devices create a connection to the web server either using HTTP or HTTPS protocol. HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTPS is HTTP Secure Protocol that uses encrypted communication for security. Let us understand what is happening in the background. Operating system hosts web server and databases. Web servers are used to host web applications. These applications are written in various languages such as PHP, Python, Perl, and ASP.NET. And database store data in tables. On the web, requests received from clients are handled by applications. These applications are deployed on the web server. Applications use SQL queries to communicate with database if required. Once application receives a reply from database, it sends response back to the client. When we look at the LAMP stack, Apache web server runs on Linux operating system and listens on port 80. Similarly, MySQL database runs on Linux operating system and listens for queries. Application written in PHP runs on Apache web server and receives requests from client. Application queries the database if required and receive reply. It then sends the response back to the client that had sent the request. PHP can connect with MySQL database using MySQL Improved Extension or MySQLi or PDO, PHP Data Objects. Earlier version of PHP used the MySQL extension. However, this extension was deprecated in 2012. MySQLi provides both object-oriented as well as procedural API for connecting PHP with MySQL. PDO only offers object-oriented method of connecting PHP with MySQL. Let's view demo of connecting PHP with MySQL. I have logged in as root user and I am currently in var www.html folder. pwd command shows me the location of the folder. I will check the status of the Apache and MariaDB servers. System control status httpd.service shows that Apache is running. System control status MariaDB.service shows MariaDB is also running. Let me clear the screen. Now I will create a PHP script to connect PHP with MySQL using MySQLi object-oriented method. So I will call it vi method1.php. First we start the PHP script by defining the variables server, user and password. Next, we create the connection object using MySQLi constructor with these variables as parameters. The MySQLi constructor returns an object which represents the connection to our MySQL server. Finally, we check if the connection was successful or not. Finally, check if the connection was established by checking the value of connect error. Connect error returns a string description of the last connect error. If there is error, display error message and quit using the die function, else display the success message connected successfully using MySQLi object-oriented. I will just save this file, open my web browser, open another tab and enter the URL. I have typed in the IP address followed by method1.php. A success message indicates that the successful connection has taken place. Now let's move to method 2. In this second method, we will use MySQL procedural method. We start the PHP script by defining the variable server, user and password. Next, we create a connection using MySQL connect function. Check if the connection was not established. Then display error message connection failed along with the description using MySQL connect error function. Else display the success message. Now let's save this file and run it. I open my browser. I'll open another tab. Type in the IP address followed by method2.php. A success message shows that the procedural method worked. Now let's continue to the third method, which is the PDO method of connecting MySQL with PHP. We start the PHP script by defining the variable server, user and password. Next, we create a new connection object by passing these values to the PDO constructor. Next, we use the try block to create a new connection object by passing these values to the PDO constructor. If there are any connection errors, a PDO exception object will be thrown. Here we do need to specify the database name, else error is shown. Sets an attribute on the database handle. Attribute error mode is used for error reporting and error mode underscore exception is used to throw the exception. A success message is displayed if the connection is successfully established, else the try will need a catch block. If your application does not catch the exception thrown from the PDO constructor, the default action taken by the Zend engine is to terminate the script and display a backtrace. This backtrace will likely reveal the full database connection detail, including the username and password. It is your responsibility to catch the exception either explicitly via the catch statement or implicitly via set exception handler. Upon successful connection to the database, an instance of the PDO class is returned to your script. Here, we display a success message once the successful connection is made, else the catch block will get executed and display error message. Now I'll save this file and quit. Now let me run this again in browser. I will open a new tab and type in the address. Now a message connection failed, unknown database, my database is displayed. This is because the database was not created in the MySQL server. Now let's create that database, my database. Here we log into MySQL. Give the command create database, my database. Let's quit from here. Now let's try to run the script again in the browser. Let me refresh this. So connected successfully using PDO messages displayed. We just saw 3 ways of connecting PHP with MySQL. Let's select data from MySQL database using PHP script. First of all, I've logged in as root user. I'm currently in var www.html folder and I'm starting MySQL. Here I'll change to my database. Now I will create a table called customer. The customer table has got fields customer ID, last name, first name, customer address, city and state. Next I'll insert a row into this customer table. I've typed the insert statement to insert a row into customer table. Now I'm going to add one more row into this customer table. Next I will add one more row into the customer table, this time for Anna Chaplin. Now let's see what are the records entered into the table. So it shows 3 records which are there in the table. Now we'll use PHP script to fetch these records and display it on the web browser. I will quit from this MySQL database. Let me clear the screen. Next, I will start creating my PHP script. I'm calling it myscript1.php. We start the script by defining the variables for server, username and password along with database. I have defined the variable server, username and password and database name. Next, I will create a connection using MySQL constructor. Now I will create the script to retrieve the data from MySQL using PHP. We'll use MySQL procedural method of connecting the data. I'll open the script. I'm calling it script1.php. We start the PHP script by defining the variables for server, user, password and DB name. We define the variable server, user, password and DB name. Next, we create the connection using MySQL connect function and pass these variables as parameters. Next, we check if the connection was established by checking the value of connection variable. If there was an error message is displayed, connection failed, and the program stops. Else we continue. We now set up the SQL query that selects the data. We say select customer ID, last name, first name, city from customer. Next, we run the query and put the result into $result variable. We run the query using MySQL query function. Next, we check if more than 0 rows were returned using MySQL numRows function. Next, we output the data for each row using the while loop. Here, the while loop fetches each row and displays it on the browser using the echo statement. The function MySQL fetch associate puts all the results into an associative array that we can loop through. If the number of rows was not greater than 0, that means it was 0, we display echo 0 results were retrieved and then we close the connection. Now we will run this script. I will save this. I'll open the browser and here I'll open a new tab, type in the address followed by script1.php. Here it is displaying the customer ID 1 with the name Peter Wilson, customer ID 2 Joseph Smith, customer ID 3 as Anna Chaplin. Now we will also create one more script where the same results will be displayed in a form of a table and we will use MySQL object-oriented way of connecting to this database. So I'll call it myscript2.php. We define the variables with the user, password, database name and server. Next, we create the connection object using the new MySQL function. The constructor is passed the parameters, the variables which we had declared earlier. Next, we check if the connection was successful or not. If there was an error message is displayed and the script stops. Next, we set up a SQL query that selects data from the database. Here we have given select customer ID, last name, first name, city from customer. Next, we run the query and put the result into the result variable. This step is running the query. Next, we check if more than 0 rows were returned by checking numRows. As this time we want to display the result in a form of a table, we start the table tag and along with it we display its table headings. For example, we have given echo table border equal to 2, then table row, table header, customer ID, then another table heading, customer name, then customer city. Next, we output data for each row using the while loop. The function fetchAssociate in this case puts all the results into an associative array that we can loop through. Along with the echo statement, table row statements will also be displayed. In the end, we end the table tag and also add in an else over here, which is in case the number of rows returned by the query is 0, then 0 results is displayed as a message. In the end, we close the connection and then now we save the script and now we will execute it in the browser. I will open another tab and type in the address it has some error. To check the error on which line it is occurring, we can say php script 2.php on the command prompt. It says unexpected error on some line 25. So we will check that line. Okay, now we have checked the line and made the changes as per the syntax. There was one /td and td tag missing. We have added that. Now let me run this again. Now the output is coming in this command prompt. Now let's open this in the browser. Now once we have refreshed it, I can see my result coming in the tabular format in the browser. We just saw two methods of retrieving the data. One is through MySQL procedural and one is MySQL object oriented, and we retrieve the data from MySQL into the browser. How to install phpMyAdmin and use it to add and view data. To install phpMyAdmin, give the command dnf install phpMyAdmin. The packages are displayed. Press Y. These packages will be downloaded depending upon the speed of your network. Once the files are installed, you can open your browser on the same system and use http localhost/phpMyAdmin to access this. However, if you are accessing it from another system, as in our case, it may display an error message. So let's try it out. Over here, we are giving an IP address and saying phpMyAdmin. So it gives the requested URL phpMyAdmin was not found on this server. Now this is because of security reasons. You will need to make following changes in phpMyAdmin.ini file. Switch to Linux. In this, open the file phpMyAdmin.conf. Here you need to enter the IP address of the client. Now the Windows client which I am using, let me check what its IP address is. So in this Windows client, my IP address is 192.168.232.1. So this is the IP address I need to give in Linux. So let's go back to Linux. In here, enter the IP address of your client. Add the line allow from 192.168.232.1. Same settings for setup section as well. Add the line allow from 192.168.232.1. Next, restart Apache. Save and quit from here. WQ. Let me clear the screen. Restart Apache. Now go back to the browser and see you are able to browse to the phpMyAdmin screen. The login screen is displayed. Enter the username as root. Enter the password as Red Hat, which is the database password. Click on Go. Click on Never to remove this dialog box. Click on this new link over here. Enter the name of the database, let's say MyWebDB. Click on the Create button. You can see that the database has got created. Next we will create the table product Enter the name as product. Enter 5 as the columns. Click on Go. Enter product ID. This is int. Product name. Varchar 100. Product description 200. Product quantity. This is int. And product price. This is also int. Click Save. Next we will enter records in this table. To do that, click on the Insert button. Enter the values 1, product name as Lux, description as bathing soap, let's say quantity is 40, product price is let's say 30, product ID 2, product name close up, product description toothpaste, product quantity let's say 100 and product price 20. Click Go. It says 2 rows inserted. Next click Browse. Now you can see the 2 records you had inserted. In this video you have learned how to install phpMyAdmin and how to use it to add and view data. Let's look at administering MySQL database using phpMyAdmin. It's a free tool written in PHP to administer MySQL database over the web. It supports MySQL and MariaDB, which is drop-in replacement for MySQL. It creates, copies, drops, renames and alters databases, tables, columns and indexes. Username and password received by phpMyAdmin are passed to MySQL for authentication. phpMyAdmin does no account management. All users must be valid MySQL users to be able to use phpMyAdmin. Let's view a demo of administering MySQL database using phpMyAdmin. In this session, let's see how to create users and assign permissions by using phpMyAdmin. Click on server:localhost. Next, click on user accounts. Click on the add user account option. Enter user1 in the username dialog box. In host name, enter %sign. This is so that the user can log in from any host. Enter password as password. Retype the password as password. In the database for user account section, click on create database with same name and grant all privileges option. If you want, you can also specify some more privileges for this user related to data, structure, administration, and also you can set some resource limits. For now, let's skip this. Click on Go option over here. The message you have added a new user is displayed. It's also showing a query which it has internally executed. Click on user account and you can see this user1 has got created, which can be accessed from any host, has a password and has global privileges as usage. It does not currently have any grant permissions. You can of course click on edit privileges and give him more privileges such as administration. For now we'll remove this and click on Go. You can also see our user1 database has got created. Now click on the logout option. Now log in as user1 and enter the password as password. Click Go. Please note, in case you are not able to log in, you may need to drop anonymous users created in MySQL as they may mask any other users when connecting with MySQL. In this session, you saw how to create users and assign permissions by using phpMyAdmin. Now you know about LAMP stack. Let's see if you can write code to connect PHP with MySQL. In this exercise, you will install LAMP, Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP stack. Connect to MySQL database using PHP. Write a script that retrieves the records from a movies table and displays them on a web browser. The movies table should store information about movie in following fields: movie ID int, movie name varchar 100, genre varchar 100, lead studio varchar 50, audience rating int, release year varchar 4. Now pause the video and perform the exercise. When you're finished with the exercise, start the video and compare it with what I came up with. Solution to exercise. Use the Linux ISO file to install Linux. You can install it as virtual machine using VM Player. Then you can use putty to connect to the virtual machine using its IP address or use its own terminal. Login as root user. Install Apache. dnf-y install httpd will install Apache. Let me clear the screen. Once Apache is installed, next start Apache. Also enable it so that it starts next time when the server starts. Remove the firewall. This can be temporary using IP tables, or it can be permanent using the firewall CMD. Similarly do for HTTPS and then reload. Now check if the Apache is working fine. Use this IP address in your web browser. This will vary from machine to machine, so you have to check your own system's IP address. The Fedora test page shows that Apache is working fine. Let me clear the screen. Next, install MySQL. dnf-y install MySQL server will install MariaDB, which is drop-in replacement for MySQL. Once MariaDB is installed, start it. Let me clear the screen. System control start MariaDB.service will start MariaDB. System control enable MariaDB.service will enable it to start at the time of booting up. Next, secure it. Secure the MySQL server. MySQL secure installation. Secure MySQL by giving command MySQL secure installation. Currently root doesn't have any password. Set the password. Remove anonymous users. Disallow root logins. Remove test database and reload privileges. Next, install PHP. Clear the screen. dnf-y install phpMySQL will install PHP. This completes the first part of the exercise, that is to install LAMP, Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP. Let me clear the screen. Next, we'll create a script to connect PHP with MySQL using MySQLi object-oriented method. However, before that, let's install VI editor. dnf-y install vim will install the vim editor. Vim is installed. Let me clear the screen. Let me set an alias. Set alias vi is equal to vim. Save and quit. Now load this configuration using the source command. Also, let's set vi preferences in vim rc file. Now let's create the script. Before that, move to var www html folder. Now create the script. Now create the script in which the connection is made between PHP and MySQL using MySQL object-oriented method. Save this and quit. Open the browser, enter the path. Connected successfully using MySQL object-oriented shows that the connection was successful. In case you see the script here, then you need to restart Apache web server. This ends the second part of our exercise, which is to connect MySQL and PHP. Next, we will do the third part where we will have some table in the MySQL database and retrieve it using the script. In this case, we will take the movies table. First, connect to MySQL server. Create a database. Use the database. Next, create the table. Create the movies table with fields movie ID, which is int, movie name, which is varchar, genre, which is varchar 100, lead studio, which is varchar 50, audience rating, which is int, and release year, which is varchar 4. Next, add some records into this table. Add the first record, add the second record, add the third record, and finally add the fourth record. Next, give select star from movies to see whether the table has got created in MySQL. Quit from MariaDB. Clear the screen. Next, write the script to retrieve this table in PHP. Create the PHP script where the connection is made, and if it does not successfully, it fails. Next, write the SQL statement to retrieve the fields. Execute the query. Next, start the table with the headings. Add the while loop and have the fields being displayed in between the while loop. End the table tag and also close the connection at the end. After you have written the script, save it and execute it. Go to the browser, enter MyScript2. The table is displayed which shows that PHP has connected with MySQL and retrieved the records. This ends with our third part of the exercise. So in our exercise, first we added all the components of the LAMP, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL and PHP. Next, we made a connection between PHP and MySQL. And finally, we created a connection and retrieved the records from MySQL and displayed them on the web browser.